Wednesday morning, July 10th. We're ready to go. No Paul here. Jaden took a little fall, his youngest, but I got Cirillo hanging out with the fam. Let's go.
Everywhere I go, the people really want to know who I is and who
Nothing
I
about the stories. It's okay. We'll get there. We're talking about 22 months of wholesale declines, Carvana tax credits, and Google's advanced protection today. Just something I thought we'd throw in light of some security breaches going across the U.S. Cirillo, how are you doing, man?
Wait, what security breaches are you talking about?
Nothing, nothing to speak of. Shh.
I'm great, man. How are you?
Great. You were all over the country for like 2.5 weeks. I don't need like world traveler type style.
You know, when you're gone for so long and then there's that moment you come back through the threshold of your own house and you feel like you're visiting your house.
Yeah. You're like, when did I go on vacation and why does the paint smell like it's a brand new house for some reason?
Yes. That was last night for me. I walked in and I'm like, am I allowed to take off my shoes? Can I?
That's amazing. That's great. Saw you hanging out with Glenn Lundy in Kentucky, working on that 800% store. I think that's going to be a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, it's all coming together, and there's lots of things we don't know that we don't know, and that's probably the exciting part of it, and just challenging everything we think we know about a dealership and saying, well, how can we do it in a new and innovative way? So that's been fun to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of that, if you don't know, we've got a podcast called Auto Collabs, and it's a conversation that Paul, myself, Michael get to have with different thought leaders and industry partners and dealers across the country. And that is always a podcast that kind of challenges the norms of both storytelling, but also interaction with exactly what's going on in the dealership. We released yesterday or 2 days ago, an episode with Keyshawn Batts called The Future of Financing, and all about like how financing might be, leveraging technology to make it better for consumers. So speaking of what you don't know that you don't know, that's maybe one that you want to check out. So yeah. All right, let's get into it. First story here, used vehicle wholesale prices experienced another decline in June, continuing a downward trend observed over 22 months. Imagine that. According to Cox Automotive, non-adjusted price decreased 2.2% from May, and we're down 10% year over year. Retail sales disruptions from the CDK outages also had an impact on the market. And then the seasonally adjusted prices were down year over year as well. Here's a few of the data points. Luxury vehicle prices dropped 9.9%, SUVs 9.3%, compacts 12%, midsize 11%, pickups 8.3%. And here's the big trigger from the Cox Automotive report that I love to talk about is the availability specifically of 3-year-old vehicles decreased. And they're forecasting a 12% decrease in lease maturities in Q3. That's a direct hit to used car inventories across the U.S. and up to 17 to 18% happening in Q4. Jeremy Robb, Senior Director of Economics and Industry Insights at Cox Automotive, said, "This is a pattern that is not going away for the next 2 years, and will likely be dealing with it through 2026. So the used car roller coaster is not over." Michael,
I think we need to, can we just get the word out? Forget about the last 3 years. Pretend it didn't exist. Don't get emotional about all the money that was to be made. Get used to having to do a lot more for a little bit less. That's just the season we're in right now.
Yep.
And it's going to be okay. Lots of those second and third gen owners have lived through interesting times before. Yep. So all of us fourth, maybe fifth geners, just know it's going to be okay. Just get comfortable working a little bit harder.
Yeah. I was actually talking to a dealer yesterday, and their wholesale loss is up 2 months in a row. And when you think about what that means, is it means that historically we've been able to hold used cars a little bit longer, still be profitable or maintain, net zero on wholesale. But now that you have, especially if you are wholesaling on a specific like 60 or 90-day turn, you got to watch out for wholesale losses. So it just demands a lot more out of your used car inventory right now because of these declining prices, because of less lease maturities coming into the market, holding higher price points. So it's just a thing where you have to be more strict with your used car inventory to maintain the profitability that you may have had over the last couple of years. And to your point, like kind of wipe it out of the window. It was an anomaly, and let's get tighter with how we operate in the used car side of the business.
Yeah. And you got to think like the customer's point of view. They're never and will never be like, but if I turned in this lease, it really helped the dealer out.
Yeah.
They're hanging on to it. They're going in higher prices on it, inflation and interest rates.
Yep.
And, even 50 cents filing a court filing to change his name due to inflation to 75 cents. He's like, I can't, I'm keeping this lease on this Bugatti.
On this he's probably got a Scugatti too. That's what's great.
That's for sure.
Speaking of consumer point of view,
segue
Time.
I always find it interesting when much more consumer facing sites, not automotive news internal sites, are talking about things going on specifically in auto and specifically for how they impact consumers. And a Verge article this morning pointed out that Carvana is now offering it has now put a badge about the used car tax credit, the $4,000 off. And they're obviously, just like a lot of franchise dealers are doing, putting that on the hood of the car, applying for that tax incentive up front. And it was an entire article about how to look for those vehicles, how to understand that tax credit, why it's good to shop at Carvana because of the opportunity on, like, they specifically pointed out some bolts that are priced at $14,000, which means you could get them at up to $10,000 or at an up to $4,000 discount at $10,000. Talked all about the education of how the tax filing actually gets a little bit more complicated because you have to remember to pass that on to the dealer at the end of the year. So if you look at that, you look at like Carvana is now advertising that right in front of the consumer face, right? Which means they're probably going to put that into their marketing. And you've got sub articles on larger, broad scale consumer facing media outlets talking about this as an opportunity. So as dealers, I think it's something that we need to be keenly aware of that is going to be pressure in the market.
And this is the whole point of marketing. It's like, it's one of those things where we think marketing is run Google ad, get lead. No. And
Right.
No. Marketing is about creating compelling and persuasive messages that encourage somebody to take a specific action. And so, take a page out of Carvana's book and do something that's in your own control and actually do marketing.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Get your message out into your market. What I always think about, especially for markets that Carvana doesn't operate, or you can't see all of their stuff, prominently or whatever. All that really matters is your own community. I was at a dealer group the other day, small, probably in a market area of, I would say 100,000 all in, and they've got, 5 or 6 stores that go along this river bend from about 45 minutes north to south. And I was having a conversation, and the dealer said, this is crazy. We've been here for this is our 7th generation.
Wow.
Which means people in this area knew about their dealership group before they had ever heard about dinosaurs.
Right.
Like,
of course. It's like embedded in the community.
Yeah, like George Washington's fake teeth weren't even on display anywhere yet when this dealership group started. What he said to me, though, Kyle, was like, he goes, I just had a conversation with a customer the other day that didn't know we owned other dealerships.
Right. Wow.
I was like, so my point is, Carvana is going to do what Carvana does. What do you have that you can leverage to put your foothold on your market and become the mayor of your market, figuratively speaking, and nothing else matters. Like, Get integrated beyond the toy drive or the sponsoring the baseball team. And by the way, I'm not knocking those things. I think you keep doing those, but do something more. What's your message to drive people into you? Do they know that you exist to the degree that you need to be known?
I always love to ask the question, why does Coca-Cola still buy billboards? Well, because it's important to share the message of Coke over and over in every place that you possibly can be.
Interesting. Boom. Speaking of Coke, I don't know. I don't have a
Speaking of lots of places that people can be.
Stop.
Segue.
Time.
You know, there's been a little bit of craziness surrounding the fact that getting into accounts is possible from hackers, and the level of account and detail on scrutiny, the scrutiny of that from IT departments is at an all-time high. You know, obviously a lot of IT departments in auto have moved to Microsoft branded products because of the increased ability to kind of like manage those accounts. But recently Google, who a lot of dealers and industry partners have moved to as their email and document storage place of choice, has simplified the process for securing high-risk accounts with what they've called their advanced protection program. It's been out for a while, but it's been a little tough to engage with. But now users can enroll in using just a passkey instead of the previously required 2 physical security keys. So a passkey meaning like a fingerprint or a face ID, or a device key, authentication key. Originally, these 2 physical security keys were needed to activate and log in through this advanced protection program. But now you can set up the program with a single passkey using all the biometric authentication available on like a Google Pixel or an iPhone device. The setup is super streamlined. I actually have 6 Google accounts that I set up on my Face ID this morning within less than 10 minutes. So the authentication is easy to do, but also highly secure, just like Face ID on your iPhone. And then you also have to provide like a recovery email, like a phone number, or email address to enroll in the protection. So just like a PSA here to make sure that if your company is on Google, that everybody is locking down their accounts as much as possible just to reduce the threat of security breaches.
You know what I just heard you say? I heard you say that it took you 10 minutes. You, Kyle Mountseer, 10 minutes. So just for everyone else watching, it's going to take us about an hour.
Get out of here.
Oh
my goodness.
Here. Can you imagine though? I was thinking about this with the whole CDUK thing going on, that the IT people really took it on the chin.
Right?
Like you walk into the office, if you were an IT person over the last 3.5, 4 weeks in automotive, nobody said good morning to you. You walked in, they all looked at you like this.
You got it right.
Yeah, like
yeah.
Look what you did. It was like everybody's fault by
everybody's
association.
fault for some reason.
This makes sense. I mean, now wait a minute. Didn't we interview the guy that invented 2-factor authentication?
Yeah, SSO two-factor or Auto basically for Google. Yeah, Ben Ayed. Yeah, he was at Google when he patented that.
We never did get his address, by the way, to send him a gift.
Yeah. He's got it locked down behind security.
Yeah, that is 2-factor authentication just to get into his property.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, couple updates that might serve you today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Cirillo, we're going. Thank you so much for being on today. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hey, look, there's practical things that you can do to increase your business opportunity in your location today. It all starts with serving people. So go do that.